Showtime! The Capital G Show starts right now.
What's up YouTube, Capital G here. So guys, I want to do a discussion on a very viable card disc format that is actually really good, but it's not seeing a lot of competitive play right now, and I don't really understand why, especially coming out the side deck. The card I'm talking about is Doomcaliber Knight. It's a level 4 fiend, 1900 attack, 1800 defense. It cannot be special summoned, and during either player's turn when a monster effect is activated, tribute this face-up card to negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that monster. So basically, Doomcaliber Knight is a mandatory Divine Wrath at the cost of himself. If your opponent tries to activate any type of effect, whether it's in the hand like Honest, or in the graveyard like Dark World's Necro Gardener, or on the field like Tour Guy from the Underworld, Doomcaliber Knight will launch himself, he'll negate that monster, and he'll kill it at the same time. You know, it's a really cool effect. It can be a double-edged sword because it will work if you try and activate a monster effect too. Doomcaliber Knight doesn't discriminate. I mean, if you summon a Stratos stupidly after you have Doomcaliber on the field, Doomcal will negate your Stratos and they'll both die. So you just have to be, you know, use common sense when you play Doomcaliber. The reason I like Doomcaliber, first off, not only are his stats just ridiculously good. I mean, 1900 is still better than normal for a level 4 monster, but his 1800 defense actually pretty good. So if your opponent randomly has like an enemy controller or some way to switch it into defense, you know, you don't have to worry about it getting run over by like some small shit like Thunder King and his pathetic 800 defense. You know, one of the reasons that people really swayed away from Doomcaliber Knight was the whole big hand trap trend. You know, anytime you activate a hand trap, especially if it was in the battle phase, you could kill, you know, your opponent's Doomcaliber Knight, and that would kind of fuck them over as they really didn't see it coming. You know, they didn't have to commit much to the board or anything like that. So, I mean, this problem has kind of been alleviated just by the fact that nobody's really playing hand traps in the main deck anymore. You know, you look at the top 32 decks at YCS Austin, I mean, how many Maxx Cs and Effect Veilers did you see in the main deck? I mean, how many Gores did you see in the main deck? I basically didn't see any outside of that one Monarch deck. So, you know, right now you really don't have to worry about, you know, you attacking your opponent directly and they're just like, oh, discard Maxx C, Doomcaliber Knight dies now, you know. I think that if you look at some of the best decks of the format, Doomcal is really good against all of them. You know, you look at the Mermail deck, it really slows down their deck. I mean, your opponent basically has to exhaust a resource, and Mermail is not really a deck to where they have an abundance of effects that they can just activate and, you know, lose and just be in a good position. You know, if your opponent is playing Genix Undyne, I mean, by all means, I'll be glad for you to waste your normal summon and your Undyne to kill my Doomcaliber Knight. By all means, you know, it answers the face down Mermaid bitch play. That's a very difficult play to stop unless you have something like Macrocosmos or, you know, something of that nature. And generally, if your opponent wants to get it off the board, you know, they have to waste their normal summon when playing Mermail. I mean, they have to either use like Deep Sea Diva or Spike or something like that. I mean, there's Abysslinde, but could you ever really see somebody using a Megalo to get rid of a Doomcaliber? I would hope not, because Megalo is pretty much one of the most important cards in the deck. So it's really good. Like against a deck like Dark World or Mermail, where you can side deck in a Macro or a D-Fissure and completely, you know, eradicate those decks. I see Doomcal kind of like it's a base hit rather than a home run. You know what I mean? Sometimes the home run obviously wins the game, but those base hits can be, I mean, they add up. If your opponent just, you know, if you slow them down for a turn to where your opponent has to, you know, waste their Insector Centipede or something like that, and they have to waste that turn, waste that normal summon, you know, I'm pretty content because maybe next turn I draw my home run and just win. You look at it in the Fire Fist matchup, oh my goodness, this card is ridiculous against Fire Fist. First off, he's 1900, so he's bigger than any of their monsters. He's bigger than Tengu, he's bigger than, you know, Bear, Gorilla, all that stuff. Even if they have a Fire Formation card on the field, he's still bigger than them. And the thing that's really good is, let's say that you have Doomcal out and your opponent wants to use the Gorilla or the Bear effect. Okay, well, they have to get rid of their Tenki plus their monster. So they lose 2 cards, I only lose 1. And that can be relevant because, you know, when they summon their next monster, they don't get that extra 100 attack boost. So I think it's really good. And even against windups, number one, it's a way to deal with Windup Rabbit, which is one of the hardest cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! To deal with. I mean, outside of like Doka and Levier, I mean, there aren't that many just straight up monsters that instantly handle the Windup Rabbit play. And generally speaking, they have to waste like a shark on it. You know what I mean? The thing about them having to waste a shark to remove it is you can only use shark, like you can only reveal it when you normal summon another windup. So unless your opponent normal summons the rat, and they reveal the shark, obviously making you launch your Doomcaliber, and then they just use Rat's effect to get shark back. Like, there aren't really any good plays. If your opponent, normal summons like a fucking Windup soldier and then reveals the shark, I'm in a pretty good position. Not only did you lose your shark, but I mean, you've got a Windup soldier on the field, like big whoop. I'm not really scared of that. It slows your deck down to where you're not being able to do your super shenanigan exceed plays with Invoker and all that. So I see Doomcaliber as a card that, coming out this side deck, I see it as one of the most effective cards in the meta right now. Like, I really like it in anti-meta and especially hero decks because, heroes, a lot of those cards like Thunder King and Neos Alias and Noble Knight Gawain and Photon Thrasher, they never really have to activate to be effective. So let me know what you guys think about Doomcaliber's viability this format. I mean, it's not the home run against most decks that Macrocosmos is, but it does slow your opponent down for a turn, and it can also attack, and especially games 2 and 3, it's a lot more difficult to get off the board, as most people will anticipate those lockdown cards coming in, and they might not realize how potentially dangerous Doomcaliber can be if you let them live on the field for a couple of turns. Thank you guys for watching. As always, click that like button if you would, and if you enjoyed the video, thank you for watching and have a nice day. Subscribing makes life happy.